Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and today, wow, what a show we have for you today. I am probably on some lists that you probably don't want to be on, but hey, this is all in the name of research. If anything happens, I will point to this video as evidence number one that I promise nothing bad is going to happen. Just simply trying to do research. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, well, today we have our special episode, hopefully it goes well, where we talk about everything about the dark web. Spooky, scary, I know I should probably have some sound effects queued up for that, but yeah, nope, that's it. Just the dark web. So we're going to be talking everything about what goes on there, how it happened. Well, not everything that goes on there, but why people use it, how it works, things like that. We're not going to explicitly state how to get it up and running and how you can, start to visit these sites, because we're going to show that it's not completely just a cesspool, but at the same time, there is content out there that can definitely harm you. And when I mean harm you, I mean can get you arrested. So we're going to more focus on demystifying the whole thing. It's going to be a sensitive topic, but one that I think really deserves to be looked into, because obviously there is more than just the bad stuff. There's a very legitimate and powerful reason that this stuff exists, and we're going to get into exactly what that is. So everyone, I hope that you're ready for the show. It's going to be really fun, and yeah, hopefully we can make this entertaining for you. But before we get started, first things first, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including today's show notes, which will be actually in the form of a rather long and hopefully by many standards a well-researched article that will have links to just about everything that we talk about from today's show. It will also have resources, definitions. It will have just anything you need to know about what it is that we're talking about. We highly encourage you to go check out the website. The article itself is probably worth mentioning even before we even do today's show. So that should be up after the program. We're going to do this and then publish the article. But in the meantime, everyone, also be sure to check out the live video portion, where if you were just listening to us on the IRN radio network, then hey, thank you so much for doing that. But at the same time, be sure to check us out on twitch.tv/Computer America, Computer America on our YouTube, Facebook, Google, I can't say Google Plus anymore, Instagram, and Twitter. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Now, this is a rather large topic, and I guess the first place that you would want to start is none other than what is the yeah, what is the dark web? What is the dark web? What is the dark net? Sometimes you may hear terms thrown out there, such as what is the deep net, and we're going to go ahead and define that for you. But yeah, I think first things first, we're going to start off with this article. We're going to be using a ton of different articles to try to help us, really break down what it is that we're trying to explain here. And this first article is from CSO Online, saying what is the dark web, how to access it, and what you'll find. We're just going to be, kind of glossing over this particular article, but hey, this is as good a place as any to start. Now, everyone, let's go ahead and just say that, let's throw out some definitions there. The dark web, what that is, and, what you can find there. So the article mentions that the dark web is a part of the internet that is not indexed by search engines, period. I really want to drive that home. That is really, if you're going to pull anything away from this conversation, that is the number one thing. The dark web is simply the internet that's not cataloged by Google or cataloged by Bing, if people actually use that, by Duckduckgo, so on and so forth. It's just not, you can't just search for it. So the dark web is not some weird otherworldly presence. It's just, hey, you have to know exactly where to look, and you have to have something called the Tor browser or any of the other onion routing programs out there to be able to find it. You essentially have to have a special browser, and again, a browser is anything like Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox or Opera or Safari or Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge. You have to have a special browser to be able to access the websites that are otherwise not cataloged by Google. That's the dark web. That is this huge, mysterious, scary thing that comes up every so often here whenever we do computer and technology news. It's not really that scary when you break it down like that. But of course, hey, there are rumors that that are proven to be very, very true, and other rumors that we'll go over that just are not true. But here we go. Of course, and the article mentions you've no doubt heard talk of the dark web as a hotbed of criminal activity, and it is. Researchers Daniel Moore and Thomas Ridd of King's College in London classified the contents of 2,700 live dark web websites over a 5-week period a couple of years ago, and found that about 57% host illicit material. And by illicit material, yes, there is probably pornography that you would never want to see in your darkest dreams, but illicit material can also include things such as stolen credit card numbers, passwords and login credentials for emails and webcams and things like that. It can be everything from drug sales to gun sales and firearms, so on and so forth. Illicit has a very broad meaning, and yeah, there's a lot of ways that, hey, if you are using something like this, it doesn't inherently mean that you have something to hide. But what it does mean is that if you are going to do something like this, you are going to use the dark web. So it's not causation, it's correlation, I guess, would be the best way to put that. Now, you can buy stolen credit cards, all manner of drugs, guns, counterfeit money, stolen subscription credentials, hacked Netflix accounts, and software that helps you break into other people's computers. You can buy login credentials to a $50,000 Bank of America account for about $500. You can get 3,000 in counterfeit $20 bills for about $600, or buy 7 prepaid debit cards, each with a $2,500 balance for $500. And of course, a lifetime Netflix premium account goes for about $6. To be clear, all of this, very illegal. This is very, very bad. If you are caught with any of this, you will go to prison. You will face fines and courts and law enforcement, all that other stuff. But just to give you an idea of what can be found there. But as the article very astutely points out, not everything there is illegal. There is a legitimate side to the dark web. For example, you can join a chess club or Black Book, which is essentially the Facebook of the Tor browser network. But hey, and really there are strong communities that pop up through the Tor browser network, and when I say Tor browser, I mean the dark web. It just so happens that the Tor browser and the Tor project, which we're going to get into in just a moment, is really the most infamous of ways to access the dark web. So I apologize beforehand if I start to use them interchangeably, but it's essentially saying the internet is Google Chrome, or the internet is Internet Explorer. No, not the case, but for this purpose, it's kind of close enough. And we're also going to talk about alternatives to the Tor browser network. So there you go. So again, there is illegal stuff that happens, and really the majority of stuff, not the vast majority, but the majority of stuff that happens is illegal. So if you're wondering, should I go on this, should I not? Let me answer that question up front. Probably 99% of you out there listening probably have no reason and really very, very little interest in going to the dark web. It's essentially a worse version of the World Wide Web, and the World Wide Web is, of course, everything that you visit, through Chrome or Firefox or anything like that. It's just a worse version, but if you really value privacy, if you value being anonymous online, and you really want to stick it to advertisers and people like that, then it's a great option. It's not for everyone, but for those who use it, just because you have it downloaded on your computer does not mean you're a criminal whatsoever. To make that very clear. So, everyone, now let's go ahead and give some more definitions. So again, that was the definition of the dark web, just anything not categorized by Google or Bing or any other search engine. Very, very simple. Now, to give one more little definition here, the deep web. If you ever hear anyone use the deep web and the dark web interchangeably, that is incorrect. That's not the right way to use it. And of course, so let's just say it. The deep web is anything that's also not categorized by the by browsers, but also it's hidden for a very good purpose. The best way that I could come up with before the show to kind of illustrate what I was talking about when it comes to the deep web is that when you check your email, let's say you have a Gmail account and you check your email account is essentially one tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of the deep web. Not everyone has access to it. It's on the internet. It's not cataloged by a browser. Like you can't put Ben's email address. That would just show a link to the email address, but it wouldn't actually show your inbox. That is a pretty good way to think about the deep web. It's everything that exists. It's all the pages that exist. It's all the content, databases, everything like that exists on the internet, but are simply not accessible by design. And again, these things can include everything from emails to financial information to data sets to, just anything that you could possibly think to make a web page for. And the deep web is not a bad thing. It's just, and really to give everyone a number, let me see if I can, actually there's another article here we're going to put up on screen if you're following along with the video. But to give you an idea of just how big the deep web is, and I think it's this article or the one before it, but essentially there are 60 trillion 60 trillion web pages. So think about if you go to Computer America, you land on the homepage, that's one page. If you navigate to the podcast page, then hey, that's 2 pages. There are over 60 trillion with a T, trillion web pages that exist on the World Wide Web. And of course, you are only allowed to access a tiny fraction of the billions, and that's billions with the B, billions of websites on the internet. If you didn't know, Google and Bing, when you type in a phrase like, bring up dogs or cats, you type in cats and you see that little number over on the side that says, we cataloged 29 million searches in 0.03 seconds. Well, turns out the World Wide Web is Google and Bing only access about 99.7% of the web pages out there. That's right, only 1 in 3,000 web pages are actually accessible by search engine or by browsers. So there you go. That's the deep web. The deep web is everything that you really don't need to see. You don't need to see the Northern Oceanic Atlantic, whatever NOAA stands for. You don't need to see all their data and all of their readings for all their buoys and all the research that scientists do and things like that. That yes, they keep on servers and they keep on the internet, but they don't want it widely published. Just like your email, just like your bank, insurance companies, hospitals, all of these are on the internet, but they're not cataloged, and they are known as, again, the deep web. So that's the deep web. The dark web is part of the deep web because the deep web is not cataloged, just like the dark web. But the dark web can be accessed, is meant to be accessed through the onion routing process. There you go. So the single largest chunk of the deep web consists of statistics and databases, again, from U.S. government agencies, and of course, millions of other things. So of course, the deep web is hidden for a good reason, and unlike other sensationalist reports on the subject, it's literally nothing to do with illegal activity. There you go. Now, that's where we have it. So, of course, the dark web is what we're here to talk about today. That's where you actually get into web pages, you actually get into services, you get into content. And, that's actually meant to be found, but in a lot of cases is only meant to be found by pre-approved audiences. A lot of content out there, you have to be approved to actually go see. And don't get me wrong, there are collections of links that you can find on places such as Reddit or other Wikipedia sites that will lead you to, that are essentially repositories for dark web websites. But by and large, a lot of the places that you go, or that you wouldn't want to go, are actually invite only. So that's actually a good thing for a lot of people out there. Now, before we get into all that, before we get into the content that you can find there and, some of the non-illegal places that you can visit on the dark web, we should probably get into the history of Tor. And Tor is going to come up every now and again, just so everyone knows. Tor is the Onion Routing Network, or the Tor Network, the Onion Routing Network. And let's go ahead. Let's see. I had a page here, right here. Who it was made by, what it was made for, that kind of thing. Now, the Onion Routing Program is made up of projects researching, designing, building, and analyzing anonymous communication systems. So the focus is on practical systems for low latency internet-based communication that resist traffic analysis, eavesdropping, and other attacks by both outsiders and insiders. There you go. So by and large, the onion routing, and there's a reason they call it onion. Think of an onion layer upon layer upon layer. If you've ever peeled or eaten an onion, you know what I'm talking about. The same process. Instead of just you with your browser on the World Wide Web, Ben sits down on his browser. He goes to a website. Let's say it's computeramerica.com. Computer America can see that, Ben from IP address X from location X is accessing my website. Why? Well, the Onion instead will go, Ben sits down at his Onion routing browser, or, sits down at a browser that accesses the Onion routing network, and it will use these things called bridges, which anyone can set up, anyone can run. There are thousands upon thousands of bridges, and it will automatically and anonymously and randomly link you to one that maybe is in Canada, followed by one that's in Nepal, followed by one that's in China, followed by one that's in Australia, followed by one that's in Great Britain, followed by a couple in the US, over and over and over and over again, essentially allowing you to surf web pages using proxy addresses. So you will be, depending on your settings and depending on the software that you use, you can be well hidden. Just because you see that someone is accessing your website on the dark web, that doesn't mean you know anything about where they actually are, what system they're actually using. Advertisers would have no information to go off of, so on and so forth. The onion routing is simply just using layers upon layers of bridges so that you can put some distance between the end user and the content. That's really the whole of it. And there are a couple of different programs to use this, but again, the number one way to actually do this is known as Tor. And of course, you can find that. We're going to talk about, we're going to go over their mission statement and why you would want to use Tor anyways, because Tor is not just for the dark web. Tor is actually just for everyone's privacy. If you're concerned about that at all, you are probably already familiar with this. Now, getting back to the, kind of the history of this whole thing, Tor Generation 2 onion routing, saying that the latest onion routing system is freely available and runs on the most common operating systems. There is a Tor network of several hundred nodes, and of course, processing traffic from hundreds of thousands of unknown users. Of course, as we said, the protection afforded by the system makes it difficult to determine the number of users or application connections. Exact current and historical number of Tor nodes and global traffic volume are graphically depicted in this article that we're going to link to at the end of the show. And hey, turns out the website's down. But still, the code and documentation is free to license. You're free to use it. And of course, we're going to go ahead and check out the Tor Network website in just a moment. But yeah, essentially, hey. Why don't we go ahead and mention that and head on over to the history of Tor, because actually the history is very, very interesting. So let's see, I just had this here. So, where did I put the history of Tor? 1 second, folks. I apologize for this. I have like 30 browsers open. Here we go. Or 30 tabs open. All right. Again, I highly encourage you to follow along with the video portion of this. And again, everyone, hi in the chat room. Thank you so much for joining us here on Computer America. If you're just joining us, we're doing our episode on the deep web and on the dark web, not the deep web, the dark web. And unfortunately, this is a big topic. So let's go ahead. So again, for everyone who doesn't know, the Tor Project, which again we're kind of using as the number one resource for connecting to the dark web or just regular browsing, it's a 501c3. If you didn't know that, it's a nonprofit organization with the idea of protecting people's privacy, and there's a lot of reasons for that. If you're wondering who came up with this technology, what horrible human would allow such rampant crime to happen on the dark web, and who would make such a horrible device? Well, the answer to that is none other than David Goldschlag, Mike Reed, and Paul Siverson at the U.S. Naval Research Lab. That's right, the U.S. government made the Tor browser network, and by extension, the dark web, or at least gave people the tools to start hosting and using the dark web. And they asked themselves if there was a way to create the internet connection that didn't reveal who is talking to who, or even to someone monitoring the network. Their answer was to create and deploy the first research designs and prototypes of onion routing. That's right, this whole thing was built with the idea and the possibility that we could browse anonymously, and truly anonymously. Now, in the early 2000s, a recent Massachusetts Institute of Technology graduate began working on an NRL onion routing project, and to distinguish this from the original network, they called the project Tor, which stood for the onion routing. And so, with a couple of guys from MIT and of course the original inventor from the U.S. Naval Research Lab, they were able to bring out the Tor project. Of course, after that, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, or the EFF, we had them on the show last year, great organization. They began funding the project in 2004, and in 2006, the Tor Project Inc. Filed for nonprofit organization and was founded to maintain Tor's development. Over the years, it's been used and reiterated upon. It's some of its more notable, I guess, influences on modern stories include the Arab Spring happened in late 2010 when there was the grassroots movement in the Middle East to kind of fight oppression and censorship by the government and things like that. Well, one of the best ways to get information in or out of of Iran and Iraq and all these other countries, or in Egypt, that were part of the Arab Spring was to use the Tor browser network. It made the internet accessible not only to activists but to everyday individuals, and of course was an instrumental tool in in helping coordinate the Arab Spring. And then on top of that, we of course have the Edward Snowden revelations. That's where Edward Snowden had taken, downloaded, and of course exposed the national. No, it was the NSA, the National Security Agency, which was snooping and of course downloading everyone's call logs, monitoring internet traffic, just downloading petabytes worth of information every single day, and essentially spying on our own citizens. If you don't remember Snowden, highly encourage you to go look up some of the documentaries out there. But the Tor browser network was once again instrumental for distributing the documents and doing so anonymously. Not foolproof, obviously, because Snowden was of course eventually identified, but the ability to get the information out there and get it and be able to spread it, hey, that's all thanks to, once again, the Tor browser network. So of course, all this happening, and we're going to talk about, some of the legitimate uses for this. Again, we're not really going to highlight the illegal uses for the dark web, but why people are actually using this for legitimate purposes. Hey, it's it's definitely a good thing. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go back to where we were, and let's see. So I had another link here, which we're probably going to, here we go. Now, the last resource we're going to pull from the Tor Project, and you can check this out at the torproject.org. You can, of course, go there yourself and check that out. But the people who use Tor, what do they actually use it for? And let's see, I had that sitting right here in front of me. Here we go. I found it. Okay. Once again, torproject.org, and this is a great resource to really show, why people use this. So the first one, normal people. You, me, everyone else. Check this out. They use it to protect their privacy from unscrupulous marketers and identity thieves. That's right, because first things first, if you don't know who is even looking at content, if there is zero way to trace who's looking at the weather or who's looking at the news article or whatever, advertisers, of course, and marketers can't build up a giant profile, which we have seen before with Facebook and things like that. They can't build a profile on you, and identity thieves surely can't get any kind of private information to actually get, to trace it back to you. So this makes you, I don't want to say completely safe from identity thieves, but to actually trace it back to you would take so much more effort that it would simply not be worth it. So there you go, normal people. They also use it to protect their communications from irresponsible corporations. We've seen time and time again that corporations such as Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, so on and so forth, they tend to lose the private conversations between individuals and their acquaintances, or in some cases we even heard reports that Facebook had been snooping on executives of rivals using their platform, and essentially just not handling the communication with all of the respect that I think a lot of people out there would kind of expect. The next one, protect their children online. That's right, the Tor can be used to protect any kind of information that a child could potentially put out there. Your kids shouldn't share personally identifiable information online, but they may be sharing their location by simply not concealing their IP address. And using a Tor browser would indeed protect your IP address. They want to research sensitive topics. If you are, let's say you're in China and you want to research Tibet, or if let's say you are in, let's say you're in I'm going to pick a lot on China here. Let's say you're in China and you want to understand the human rights violations that the Chinese government, has done in the past, including Tiananmen Square. Well, normally, if you pulled up a browser in China and you tried to search that, you would be put on a list and you would not be allowed to see that information. You would only see what the government allowed you to see. Well, if you want to check out those sensitive topics, download the Tor browser, check out some websites, and you can anonymize where you're from and see any information that you could possibly want that would be available on the web in general. Everyone, music in the background means that we are actually halfway done, but we're nowhere near halfway done with this article. Everyone, will continue on, more Computer America, more about the dark web explained. Everyone, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show, 32 minutes past the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, welcome into the program. Happy that you could join us. I'm going to have to demand that you check out the podcast version of the show, which is simply today's show in its entirety, rebroadcast wherever podcasts are heard. And it's going to be very important because we are discussing a particular topic, one topic, and that is the dark web. Everything you need to know. And hey, let me be put on the list and not you. And let's get to the bottom of this, because the point of this whole article again is, why does it exist? Why is it used? And overall, just clear up confusion, because I feel like the more that we know about it, the more it's not just this scary enigma, but it's a known entity. The more that we can actually, continue and deal with it in the proper way. And hey, so with that being said, everyone, welcome back into the program. Check out computeramerica.com. Now, everyone, let's go ahead and finish up this article real quick. We were just talking about, the kinds of people that use the Tor browser network. And again, just for the everyday people, really it centers around privacy. The next, and of course, circumventing censorship. Another one are journalists. And one organization that is particularly fond of the Tor browser network is known as Reporters Without Borders. Tracks internet prisoners of conscience and jailed or harmed journalists all over the world. They advise journalists, sources, bloggers, and dissidents to use Tor to ensure their privacy and safety. There's also another organization which is a whistleblower organization known as Secure Drop, where you can put information out there to be, to be sent essentially directly to the Washington Post, New York Times, CBC, ProPublica, and more. Citizen journalists in China use the Tor to write their articles, and citizen and journalists in internet black holes use Tor to research state propaganda and, of course, opposing viewpoints. Because it's very clear the flow of information is extremely important. And hey, it's if you control the flow of information, you control what people think, know, and feel. Well, hey, the free and open access to information is highly important. And by the way, one of the commenters, and not just any commenter, but Craig, CCA, in the chat room saying it's illegal. No, that's the whole point of this whole article, of this whole show. The Tor browser, the dark web, none of it is illegal. Straight up, none of it's illegal. Do illegal things happen there? Yes. Do they happen there frequently? Yes. Do we encourage that you go onto the dark web and do illegal things? Never, ever, ever. Folks, do not do it. You can be caught. You will be caught. Do not do that. But is the Tor or the dark web or anything like that, is it illegal? No. And that's what we're trying to shine a light on. So again, we're going over reasons why one would use Tor to access the dark web, and now we move on to law enforcement. They would use it for online surveillance, sting operations, or for, of course, truly anonymous tip lines, if people want to give anonymous tips. Other reasons include activists and whistleblowers, same thing, anonymous, secure, that kind of thing. High and low profile people use Tor, including people who have strange political beliefs or, just feel like they'd be censored otherwise. Hey, the Tor browser is for you. Business executives use Tor, stating that security breach information clearinghouses see your competition as your market does, keeping strategies confidential, and of course accountability. Bloggers use it, the U.S. military uses it, of course, and IT professionals use Tor as well. Essentially, if you have any reason to be safe, secure, private, anything like that, hey, this is a technology that you need to know about. And again, if you want to check that out yourself, torproject.org. It's a 501c3, completely on the up and up. You will not get in trouble for going there. Okay, so we have the Tor browser project. You download Tor, you get it, you can then start to access the dark web. And of course, to get there, you have to have different repositories, or you have to find the address. There's not a clear Google-like apparatus for the dark web. You can't just type into the dark web and say, show me dissident political articles from China. That won't, there's no website for that. You have to know exactly what you're looking for and find the address and navigate to the address, which would then be used through the Tor browser to get you there. Great, perfect. Once you're there, depending on the privacy and depending on that, you can find a lot of different things. And usually the dark web is kind of, kind of like a spider web, where you can bounce from one topic to another in quick succession. So that's great. We have this other article in here which we're going to include, which includes the technology behind how this all works, including relays and nodes and exit relay and that kind of thing, and bridges. The long and skinny of it is that you will, you start at one position, which would be your house and your Tor browser network at home. You would then enter some kind of other address, and behind the scenes, in a very, to anyone out there who uses, the internet or the World Wide Web as we know it, you would be very upset with your internet speeds on the Tor browser network. But that's because you are pinging essentially between a ton of different bridges and relays and nodes so that your identity is being secured. And then out you would pop onto whatever service you would like to go check out. So yeah, hey, we're going to include this article here that has more in-depth definitions if you like to check that out. But at the same time, hey, that's essentially how it works. Like, that's the technology behind it. That's the secret sauce, is to keep you safe, secure, and by bouncing you between all of these different access points. Now, let's see. Should we move on to? Let's go ahead and move on to 9 must-see, completely legitimate Onion sites. Just because this comment by Craig in the chat room is getting to me, why, the fact that it's illegal? No, there are perfectly legal places to go, and that's why I found this article from ExpressVPN. And this was published a couple of years ago, but trust me, it's still very much relevant, and I'm sure there are other websites that could probably be added to this. But this is a great way to, kind of get our feet wet. So these are 9 websites that you should visit when you get onto the dark web, or if you go onto the dark web. Here are some websites that you can check out. And by the way, if you've never seen an Onion router address, it would look something like this. It would look something like HTTPS, you may know it, www.propub3r6espa33w.onion, and the .onion, to be very clear, means that it is a Tor browser site. Like your Chrome and your Firefox and your Internet Explorer cannot handle the .onion suffix. We operate in .com, .org, .whatever, but .onion is for the dark web. Now, the first one, the Pulitzer-winning ProPublica, which is a great publication. It's ProPublica does a lot of things differently. Its source of funding is the deepest wallet of the Sandler Foundation and various other similar organizations. Browsing ProPublica's work on its Onion site works well, and the site's very existence is a big win for privacy and free speech, because obviously anything published to ProPublica on their Onion website means that it's going to be anonymous, and its readers are anonymous. Anyone can read them. No particular government can actually censor that information. The next one, number 2, Facebook's Onion site. That's right, the company that makes its living, bread and butter, on harvesting your information, knowing how old you are, when your birthday is, who your friends are, where you go, what you eat, what you like, what you do, what movies you see, what songs you... Yes, that service. Facebook has their own Onion site. So while Facebook might collect everything you say and do on its platform, it isn't happy sharing this information with others. Facebook is also keenly aware of attempts by many governments to restrict access to tools that allow strangers across the web to talk and collaborate freely. Facebook's Onion address doesn't make it much easier to maintain an anonymous account, but it does make Facebook more accessible in places where it's censored. There you go. So number 2 is, if you really want to be in Facebook, but Facebook is, for some reason censored, or, things like that by government, internet companies, what have you, the Facebook Indeed does have an Onion address. The next one, number 3, Duckduckgo, very much into privacy and not collecting your private information. Duckduckgo has their own Onion address, saying that search activity isn't logged by design. Even without the ability to learn about your behavior or monitor your email and browsing, DuckDuckGo provides decent results, which raises the question, are Google's extensive surveillance techniques really necessary? Some would argue yes, some would argue no, but if you argue no, you have an alternative, and that is, again, DuckDuckGo, which you can access through the Tor browser. So there you go. DuckDuckGo excels at speed, reliability, and privacy, but maybe not accuracy like Google. There you go. Number 4, blockchain for Bitcoins on Onion, saying that if you need to hold your Bitcoins anonymously, so if you need to, and of course, when it comes to Bitcoin, you can't be too safe. If you, for some reason, get compromised, if your wallet or anything like that gets compromised, when you're dealing in thousands of dollars worth of material, you definitely want to keep yourself safe and as safe as possible. That's where Bitcoin Wallet is also reachable via a .onion address. They said that it's among the few sites with HTTPS certification on its Onion website. So just another way to keep your Bitcoin safe. Another one includes Sai Hub, which is the world's scientific database, saying that it was founded by Alexandra Elbakian of Kazakhstan in 2011 and hosts over 50 million research papers and makes them available for free. This gives underfunded scientific institutions, as well as individuals, unprecedented access to the world's collective knowledge, something that's certain to boost humankind's search for an end to disease, droughts, and hunger. That's perfect. Like that is the best use of the Tor browser that we've seen so far. And don't get me wrong, all these other ones are great too, but being able to access over 50 million research papers for absolutely free and from anywhere, that's a great boon to to a lot of people and a lot of organizations. So Sai Hub, if you didn't know. And again, before we go any further, if you want to check out any of these links, we're going to be sourcing them at computeramerica.com, but in today's show notes. But yeah. So number 6, real quick, NetPol leaks is the Onion Police Monitor, which essentially it will want to securely leak information about the UK police to a reputable police monitoring organization. NetPol leaks lets you upload information and files anonymously to its web server. Once submitted, you'll receive a receipt in the form of a key code that you can later use to communicate securely with the site operators. So if you want to be a whistleblower, for any kind of police abuse, because of course, if law enforcement is the one abusing you, you can't exactly go to law enforcement to resolve the issue. So there you go. Next one, The Intercept. The Intercept, a .onion secure drop and TLS, same thing with a whistleblower database. The next one is Keybase, is a cryptographic profile link system. Think Facebook, but hey, the only information about you that you can share with your friends and family and anyone else on this version of Facebook, the only information collected is what you put out there. It's safe, it's secure. Again, Keybase, if you happen to be there and you have others that are on there, it's social media without revealing any private information. It's possible, I know. Despite what Facebook and Twitter tell you, it's possible. And the next one is the Hidden Wiki, which is, they said that the Hidden Wiki is the way to find other websites and sources on the dark web using a Wikipedia style service. So there you go. And again, all those together are 9 must-see websites on the dark web that you should check out if you happen to go there. Again, 99% of you out there listening probably won't visit the dark web for any reason. But if you do go, just know there are completely legitimate and interesting uses for the dark web. Now, with that being said, maybe we should talk about, I'm so crunched on time. Let's go ahead and talk about, real quick, I found this interesting a couple of years ago, back in 2016. The Tor Browser Network actually updated their software so that they became even more secure. Let's see, they did that by anonymizing the addresses that I guess people are kind of pointing to, because one of the ways that they were able to snoop on traffic on the dark web, and let's say law enforcement, who shouldn't have any access to any of the different, websites or any of the services that are available on there. How does law enforcement, kind of figure out how to do this on the Tor browser? They made these things called honeypot. They called them honeypot onions or honey onions, where the FBI, CIA, law enforcement would run their own relays so that anyone who just potentially would, randomly stumble upon an FBI associated node would therefore their end destination, if it was just sent to another node, no big deal. But if their node was used as the final jump before they went to a dark web website, that web address could then be identified by that user, by that node. So they fixed this a couple of years ago, but I found it very interesting and something that, people should know, that the technology is not perfect. It's developing year over year. And just up until about 3 years ago, law enforcement had a very clear way to be able to identify what websites are being used and what websites are out there, when really a lot of people didn't have that capability, and really kind of undermines the whole point of the Onion network. So there was a pretty cool research article that showed how they were doing this, and this Wired article that really goes into a good job of explaining how it's done. I don't have enough time for that, sadly enough. But let's go ahead and check out some of the other resources I found before we have to say goodbye here. Let's talk about real quick. Okay, let's talk about some of the different rumors and things that happen on the dark web. And that's where the Dark Web Wikipedia actually comes in handy. So a lot of numbers, a lot of stuff here, but first things first, this is the content of the dark web, and they have a lot of reports that happened before they did that change with the honeypots I was just talking about, where you could analyze traffic and see what was happening. Well, check it out. These are web-based Onion services that happened in the year of 2016, and the content that they were related to, and the percentage of which actually had active users. So everything from violence, arms, illicit social, hacking, illicit links, extremism, illicit financing, which would be like selling credit card information, things like that, selling of drugs and what have you. All those combined, most of those were like 8% of all of the web pages analyzed on the dark web. It's actually not a complete minority, but 8% is a very small number. And some of those, like violence and selling of guns and things like that, like 0.8% of websites actually cater to that kind of market. Not many people were actually using it for that. I'm not saying that it's not out there, that it doesn't happen. It's just, it's not the only thing that's out there. And I want to make that completely clear. They even have a total here. The illicit total is about 30% of the web services out there on the dark web are illegal. So be careful, but that's not all. And so some of the illegal things that happen out there include botnets. We've heard about botnets and how they can shut down traffic or shut down websites, overload a system with a large amount of fake traffic so that other people who are legitimate, let's say if you want to check out computeramerica.com gets hit with a botnet. 10 million thermostats suddenly tried to connect to computeramerica.com. You, the lone individual trying to access our website, would be caught up in the millions upon millions of requests for information from the botnet. So that happens on the dark web all the times. Bitcoin services, we talked about those, which include digital currency exchanges, wallets, and things like that, happen on the dark web. Darknet markets, which can include everything from illegal arms to software exploits to illegal drugs, they certainly do happen. Although one of the most notable ones, and if you are just hankering for the most entertaining documentary you've ever seen, go check out some documentaries on this thing called the Silk Road. It was a high-profile takedown in November 2013. Its founder was arrested. I think he was given like life in prison without the possibility of parole. Like I said, there are real consequences to some illegal things that happen there. But it's a very fascinating article about the Silk Road and what happened there. So anyways, I digress. The dark web, we're talking about things that happen there, hacking groups and services. If you are looking for software exploits, if you're looking for zero-day vulnerabilities, if you're looking for things like, any kind of Trojanware, any kind of ransomware, things like that, these are the guys that not only develop it and adapt it and communicate with one another on how to do it better, but they also sell it. Just like you would on Amazon, just like you would on eBay, they're actually designed to be pretty similar in how they look. And you can go and buy hacks, exploits, trackers, extortion tools, all that kind of thing. You can purchase that there. Again, don't encourage this. Don't do it. But it's possible. It happens there. Let's see. So with that being said, others include fraud services. Some of the, and actually I found this pretty interesting. There have been crowd hoaxes or fake stories about crowdfunding assassinations and hitmen for hire on the dark web, although they have shown that the only time that that's actually been, I guess, kind of brought to light, and I'm not saying that it's impossible that this hasn't happened, but the only time that this has been shown that, someone's looking for someone to hire an assassin or an assassination for someone else, the quote-unquote assassins that they were communicating with were law enforcement, were CIA, were FBI, and they were offering the services to catch people and therefore put them in prison. There really haven't been any known reports of this happening, of this actually happening and without it being a hoax by law enforcement. Phishing scams, puzzles, terrorism, social media, things like that. Like, again, bad things do happen, but hey, it's not all bad, as we tried to explain. Man, so there you go. We're going to go ahead and leave a link to the Dark Web Wikipedia if you want to check that out. Now, with that being said, trying to look through the rest of that stuff, what would make a good cap off to this? All right, we're going to start this article. You're going to have to finish it on our website, but you should check it out here. 10 things that you should know about dark web websites. And yeah, first things first. New dark web websites pop up every single day. Anyone with a computer and a Tor network and the software can run their own website. The reason that people run them can be as numerous as people's intentions. And hey, if Computer America wanted to put up their own dark web website, all we have to do is run it on our system and put it up there. Honestly, it wouldn't be any different than our website that you would find at computeramerica.com. Many are perfectly innocent. There's really nothing scary about a lot of this. And they said that some spaces are invitation only. Let's say if you are looking for, if you are looking for censored information in a country that censors that kind of information, then to make sure that law enforcement or the government doesn't get into those places, you would have to be vetted, background checked, and essentially say, hey, I am not a part of any kind of other organization. Think of it kind of like a mafia trust test, as the article kind of points out here. They want you to prove that you're not a researcher and you are not a law enforcement, and that you're not law enforcement. And a lot of these tests are going to be something that a researcher or law enforcement legally can't do. There are crackdowns. Law enforcement are all over the dark web, which is a good thing. I honestly do think it's a good thing. If illegal things are happening, that should definitely be shut down. But at the same time, with my last minute, I will say here, I will wrap this up by saying the dark web is not a bad thing. It's not a scary thing. It's honestly a tool. I won't even go as far to say it's a good thing. It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. Just like a rock, just like a stick that you hit your friend over the head with, a stick is a stick. If you want to do something good with that, perfect. It's a good stick. If you want to, well, actually, I take that back. If you want to hit someone over the head with it, bad. That's a bad thing. Don't do that. If you want to do something good with the stick, whatever a good purpose for a stick is, that's great. But the stick is simply just a tool. That is the point I wanted to get across with this segment today. You can access it. Having the technology, having the know-how to get onto it, to look at the stuff on there is not a bad thing. But if you happen to go on there and you happen to do illegal things, that's bad. We don't encourage you to do that whatsoever, and don't do that. But this is our segment that we dedicated to demystifying so that we wouldn't see comments like, hey, the dark web is illegal. No, the dark web is not illegal. It's just misunderstood. Or I should say lately understood. Everyone, that's our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, the article itself is going to be completely different. It's not just show notes. It's going to have its full-blown explanations and definitions and things like that. Check that out, computeramerica.com. It'll be up here shortly. And in the meantime, everyone, thank you so much. Tune in tomorrow for more Computer America. And yeah, catch you next time. Bye, everyone.